Okay, so our next exercise, we're gonna start working through a couple letters of the alphabet. So there's a bunch of exercises that you can do for the shoulders, and they're Y's, T's, I's, W's. There's a bunch of different things. Well, basically what happens is you end up in a Y position or a T position with your arms. So we're actually gonna do a push-up position T. Now, we're only gonna do one part of the T at a time. I shouldn't have to tell you this, but if you try to do both at the same time and end up on your face, you come back and you say, well, you didn't tell me not to. I shouldn't have to. But anyway, here we are. You're gonna do one part of the T at a time. Focus on squeezing the shoulder. Again, we're looking to get to about parallel to the ground, and that's it. We don't need to crank the arm up so high that it causes the body to shift and turn. And this is also, these exercises, the shoulder extension, the T, and a couple others that we're gonna do, they're also a great way to get some strengthening for your upper back and shoulders when at home. If you don't have any equipment or any bands, it's very difficult to get adequate sort of work to the upper back and the shoulder area. These exercises do give you one way to do that. So let's get into our setup position, quadruped. So hands and knees, take a second, screw the shoulders in, come up to your push-up position, feet a little bit wider than your hips. Now from here, I'm gonna put the weight on my left arm, squeeze the right arm out to the side, back down. Take a second to reset, back down. Again, I'm focusing on and thinking about the shoulder blade to create my movement. Even if you don't feel those muscles working, it's okay. A lot of people struggle with feeling their upper back when it's working, but what I want you to do is think about that part of the body. So if my right arm is moving, I'm thinking about my right shoulder blade squeezing to create that motion. And eventually, if you keep practicing that enough, you'll start to get a better awareness and a sense of what's going on back there. So always think about the muscle that you want to be working and squeeze through that joint to get those muscles active. All right, this next exercise is going to be another letter exercise. This is going to be the push-up position Y. Now, if you have any shoulder problems, pain, especially with pain going above shoulder height, I would not recommend you do this, at least not from the floor. Maybe you try it from an inclined position, but it's quite challenging. And if there's issues with the shoulder coming up above shoulder height, I would probably stay away from this one, at least for now. Maybe revisit it at a later time when the shoulder is not so cranky. This one does work a muscle or tries to target some muscles that are typically underdeveloped for most people. So it's the lower trap. If you look up your trapezius, you have an upper part that's kind of up near the top of the shoulder and the neck, the middle trap kind of in between the shoulder blades, and your lower trap is down towards the bottom part of your shoulder blade area. It is a muscle that just doesn't get a lot of work with our daily activities, and most of the things that we do, we don't target it. So this exercise is meant to try to target it, but sometimes if there's shoulder pain and faulty mechanics, it can actually make things worse. So we may not want to start here, but this could be something we bring in towards the end if you're working on any kind of a shoulder rehab. So back to our setup position. So hands and knees, screw the hands into the ground, come up into the position, feet a little bit wider. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my arm up and out as if I was going to make a Y. Again, if I get to parallel to the floor, that's great. But that's it. It's all I'm trying to do. Not trying to swing it up too high. As you start going from a T to a Y, I'm not going to do the I's, but if you were to go to an I position, it gets harder to lift your arm up into those positions. It also creates more of a demand and different stresses through the shoulder and even into the other back and ab muscles and low back muscles. So it gets harder. So expect that. So if the T's aren't too bad, the Y's are going to be harder. I's would be even harder than that. So understand that. Don't force your range of motion. Squeeze the shoulder, and when it feels like it stops moving, that's not the point to jam it further. That's the point to come back down and do the other side. Again, try to think about the lower part of your shoulder blade. Okay, so it's kind of the lower part of your mid back. You're trying to squeeze from there. It sounds a lot like very convoluted and may be difficult to kind of feel initially, but at least you're thinking about it. So squeeze the arm, and then as I came up, I also rotated my thumb to an up position. You don't have to, but that position tends to be the most comfortable position for a lot of different shoulder exercises, if you can get into it, is having your hand in that thumb up or neutral position, and then come back down and then turn it again to put it back on the floor. But focus on squeezing the shoulder blade, and again, as you come up, don't twist your body. Go as far as you can go without causing your body to have to shift or compensate for what you're trying to do with the arm.